The preamble to the show, the first 30 seconds is for the replay crew. Can you hear me, everybody? Can I get a 5 by 5? How are we? It's 26 October 2024. It is Saturday evening. Thank you, Minnie Schnauzer and the Cast Iron Chancellor, Hemi, and everybody else in the chat. Hi, welcome back. Or I'm back. I don't know how that works. I'm Bear from the internet. I think you guys have figured that out by now. I do want to give a very quick thank you to all the noobs, the close to 20,000 people that have joined the channel in the last couple of weeks. I would say thank you to YouTube for unrestricting my channel in the last 14 days, allowing some new people to come in. But YouTube can go to hell in a handbasket. But you new people, you guys and girls are cool. Appreciate you. Now, if you're one of those folks that works for the FBI or has been lurking in your mom's basement for the last few years and you're just not allowed to subscribe to Bear, I would encourage you, please, to grow a pair of testicles. Ladies, no, don't do that. But anyway, man up is what I'm trying to say here. Step up to the plate. It's very, very difficult. You're going to have to click the subscribe button and ring the little bell icon. And then you'll be subscribed to Bear. And that increases the likelihood that YouTube will algorithmically serve you our content by 0.8%. Also, check to make sure you haven't been unsubscribed, because that happens every day, all the time around here, because, the reptilian overlords don't like the truth getting out. Okay? All right. Fabulous. The show, tremendous. Believe it. It's the best. Have you guys seen, I know the ADD is back. Have you seen the Joe Rogan interview with Trump? I'm like almost 2 hours through it. Look, here, it's on my telephone. See that? Yeah. Focus, you damn thing. Anyway, very interesting. Not brought to you by Trump. The show is not brought to you by Joe Rogan or Trump. It's brought to you by the creator of the universe, who has been undeniably moving on this grindstone deployment lately. It's also brought to you by Refuge Medical. Unlike most of the people you're going to see on the internet, my primary source of income is not talking at a camera. And unlike the vast majority of ordained pastors you will find, my primary source of income is not reading the Bible. In fact, I don't get paid doing that at all. I think it's wrong to monetize the words of God. I'm actually a business owner. I have 5 of those and 2 ministries, and the predominant one that we talk about on camera is Refuge Medical. So thank you to everybody who supports Refuge Medical. You guys and girls are tremendous. And then, of course, the patrons, the economic engine of the Bear Nation. All right, shut up, Bear. Read the news. Okay, what's up, Biffer? Thanks for the $20 bill. My children who are currently acquiring ice cream, thank you very much for that $20 hairs. Mike Lyons says, am I late? No, Mike, you're not. You're, by 3 minutes, you're late, but it's okay. You should have been here 15 early, because early is on time is late. But you know, Mike, shit happens. You do you, boo. All right. We're going to do the national intel this evening first, and then we're going to do a little bit of an economic update. Then we're going to talk about Troll's polling numbers versus his Vegas odds, because that's a very different story. What's going on there? Hey, it's Atwab across the table with Bob. Gosh, the beard looks good tonight, Doug. Thanks, bro. It's got a little North Carolina silt in it. So we're going to talk about Trump's polling odds. And then you probably have heard by now, Israel attacked Iran. It's World War III. It must be the end of the world as we know. No, probably not. Probably not. But yeah, that's what we're going to do tonight. Sound good? Sounds great, Bear. All right, awesome. Oh, and to the handful of people who have recently found my channel because of what Grindstone has been up to in Eastern Tennessee, Western North Carolina, and then realized you didn't like me, and then instead of unsubscribing, leaving nasty grams in the chat and the comments, bro, get a life. Like you are an American. You are free to go do anything else. Like this is your existence. You talk shit on the internet. Come on, do push-ups, lift heavy things, eat a ribeye, read your Bible. Like, you can do better. I'm really disappointed in you personally. Me personally, I'm very, very disappointed in you. Bear Independent bonus intel as sent into intel@bearindependent.com. And I'm asking you, I'm begging you, please, if you are out there and are seeing things with your own eyes and your own ears that nobody else is talking about, send them to me, intel@bearindependent.com, and I will make you famous on the internets. I don't have to read your name. I don't have to give away any information other than the intel that you have. intel@bearindependent.com. Thank you, Badger. What's up, Badger? Badger in the chat. Bob Preps Banhammer. Good job, Atweb. These are all quotes. I'm not going to say quote over and over again, and understand that as far as this intel is confirmed, much of it is unconfirmed by me. So it's single source intelligence. Tracking like a tank bear. Fabulous. I am in Asheville. I think the level of disaster is worse than you're saying because the water supply is tainted long term. I've never been in a tornado. All right, clarifying point before we continue. This disaster in Appalachia, aftermath of Hurricane Helene, is unprecedented. And I've said that, I don't know, 100 times on camera. But since most people consume content passively, aka you're not actually paying attention, just please momentarily, just pay attention for 30 seconds. The damage and debris, because that's what Grindstone predominantly does, is debris management, is a 1.5 out of 10. I never said the impact was a 1.5 out of 10. I've said 100 times, I empathize deeply with the people who lost everything. Grindstone has been there for damn near a month at this point, doing everything we can, supported by the Bear Nation here, in order to positively affect people's lives in the recovery effort. But from a debris standpoint, no, there's not a lot of debris. I know it's terrible for the people there, but comparatively, there's not a lot of debris. Should I say debris one more time? But I agree. The water supply is tainted long term. You know how I know that? Because I've been saying that shit on camera for 2 or 3 weeks. Because my people have been testing it. I'm super duper aware. I've been saying forever, don't drink the water. Don't use it for laundry. Don't move back into houses that were flooded with the water. Okay? Okay, all right. Listen, Pastor Bear, have a sip of the friendly juice. Okay, stand by. Maker's Mark. You call yourself a pastor and you drink Maker's Mark? You're probably not going to fit in around here. I am in Asheville. I think the level of disaster is worse than you're saying. No, listen, because the water supply is tainted long term. I know, I've been saying that. I've never been in a tornado. I have. There's a 16-acre site off of I-40 near exit 37 where FEMA trailers and hurricane shelters are being set up for FEMA personnel. There's a second one in Flat Rock. I saw a bunch of FEMA trailers at the Biltmore Square Mall. Armed guards jumped out when my friends pulled up in an old pickup truck and an old truck stop site on I-40 with the new FEMA encampment. My friend's husband had sold that property to Ukrainians. How interesting, at some point in the past. Coincidence? Probably. But of all the nationalities on earth, of all the 186 countries that they could have sold the property that the FEMA camp is on, it's the Ukrainians. Okay. My friend's husband sold that property to Ukrainians at some point in the past. He drove off when the soldiers jumped out to check him from observing. We saw some soldiers at the water distribution site for a few days. By the way, I can't say this more clearly. This would be another one of those actually pay attention points. If you see weird things, take pictures and videos. Document it. Soldiers. Were they soldiers or were they civilian contractors? Salute report. Google it. Salute report. Were they soldiers? What kind of uniforms were they wearing? What equipment did they have? How many of them were there? Where were they? What kind of equipment did they have? What was the time? Etc. Like, were they soldiers or were they county SWAT wearing multicam? Did they have M4s? Did they have M16s? Did they have Chris Vectors like Custom and Border Patrol SRT? Were they contractors? Does it say security on the back of their safety, or not safety vest, their plate carrier? Or does it say something else? Do they have patches? Do they have name tabs? If they have patches, what do the patches look like? If they have name tabs, did you get any pictures of that? Were there vehicles? What kind of vehicles? How many vehicles? Civilian vehicles? Governmental plates? Out-of-state plates? Did they have facial hair? What kind of hairstyle did they have? Was it within regulation or outside of regulation? Were there dogs there? If so, what breed of dog? See, Details. Take pictures, take video, because there were soldiers there is helpful, but just barely, because they might not have even been soldiers. Okay. We saw some soldiers, asterisk, at the water distribution site for a few days, but they mostly observed while the volunteers carried the water. The attitude was a little intense. Now the soldiers, asterisk, are doing water distribution at one site and police are at the other. I saw a couple of foreign uniforms, a guy and a woman with a Russian-sounding accent. They could be Lithuanian. Someone mentioned a sister city. After 19 days, we got a truck with washing machines and showers. Once they got the poison water flowing through the pipes, they took those away. I think they were there 2 days. Good. I mean, I'm sorry the water supply is jacked. I know how difficult that is. I get it. But don't use that water for anything. For bathing, doing laundry, cleaning dishes, cleaning yourself, preparing food, drinking, watering your crops, watering your livestock. Don't use that water for anything. Thunderdog says they are now saying to stay out of the water at Douglas Lake and downstream in the French Broad. Yep. Coinkydink, I'm sure. I heard some official on the emergency radio saying the strange water in our pipes was safe to bathe infants with as long as it didn't get in their mouth. Can you imagine? No, that's propaganda. I wouldn't do that. I've been doing pastor stuff, camping in the woods with my people for the last 8 or 10 days. And I gave my 7-month-old a bath when we got home. And she was filthy, as all good children should be from being outside. Love it. Let's see, continuing. I've been told by 2 people that the water from the Asheville water supply will not be usable for a year for other than flushing the toilet. Sorry, you know what happens when you flush the toilet, right? Like that stuff mists up, and then like now you got radiological, biological hazard on your genitalia and your butthole. Like that's, buttholes are hard enough to keep clean. And now I've got cesium-137 on my brown eye. Like, nah, I wouldn't even do that. The restaurant owners were informed of this within the first week and told to let their staffs go. Residents are not being told. They are told that they will probably have good water in a few weeks. We're being told that there were under 100 dead. I can personally confirm that that's a lie. My friend, who was clearing trees and poles, said he saw lots of bodies. His explanation was that they said they weren't counting unidentified bodies among the dead people. I don't think that's been done before. No, that's literally where the phrase John Doe comes from. I've never heard of that either. I haven't done a water test on the city water, but my friend assured me it's laced with chemicals. I would get samples of it, date it, send it off to the state lab and multiple independent labs, preferably out of state. And the reason we want the state lab testing is that if the state lab is cooking the books and we have 2 or 3 samples of the same water from the same location at the same time, collected in the same way, we can then prove that the state is cooking the books. Never sit down, says Big Tex. Big Tex is a hoverer. The problem with the hoverer is sometimes you get the sploosh, and that's also not good. The sploosh is not good. I'd like to sell and move before everything goes to hell here. My neighbor, who's in social work, has the inside scoop too, but he's not saying. He mentioned moving a couple of weeks ago. He's not expecting good water either. If I could get help plumbing a couple of water totes to the house, I could administer colonics as I have 38 years experience. Otherwise, I'm out of a job for the long term. That sounds like a shitty job, man. Next, I just watched the update video on the mission in Tennessee and North Carolina. Bear was talking about the silt and water in the river possibly being contaminated. I recently witnessed a biohazard cleanup across the road from where I work in Maryland. How interesting. I knew it was not good because these people securing the site were in tactical gear and bio gear. The vehicles they traveled in were blue fire trucks and blue box trucks, and one of them had a satellite dish on the roof. I thought it might have been FEMA doing training because we have a FEMA site in our industrial complex. I spoke to one of the county sheriff's deputies that was on site, and he explained to me that the people in the blue vehicles were U.S. Army and that they were cleaning up some sort of spill at one of their contractor facilities that makes nasty stuff for the government. Fabulous. I just wanted to pass this info on to your team to be aware of these vehicles. On my pages, They stick together today. So if you're seeing blue trucks and dudes in military gear plus Tyvek suits, report it. Intel at bearindependent.com. Also, hey, please share the show. When you share the show, it helps us get around the censorship here on YouTube. The YouTube algorithmic robots don't really like us a whole lot, predominantly because we don't like them. I'm for people. I'm not for robots. And I say things on the interwebs that both the robots at YouTube and the people at YouTube do not appreciate. Shirt by the Iridium Group. What's up, brother? Let's see. Next, active live map used for search and rescue in Unicoi County, Tennessee. I know exactly where that is. It's just east of where the fob is for Grindstone. Active SAR map, search and rescue map in Unicoi County, Tennessee, showing radiation symbols for different items found that washed out of the NFS facility. Ooh, that's a fun one. By the way, see my previous comments on I wouldn't use this water for anything. I wouldn't knowingly splash it on my own butthole. Okay? And I know what comes out of there, and I still don't want this water on it. Active live map used for search and rescue in Unicoi County, Tennessee, showing radiation symbols for different items found that washed out of the NFS nuclear fuel storage facility. News coverage continues to quote them as saying the facility suffered light damage. We know that's a lie because we have aerial imagery of it. But that facility was, quote, safe and secure. We were there from 1 October through 5 October 24 as a specialized search and rescue team. Several members of our team have become sick and are seeking treatment. I cannot give more information on who we are for obvious reasons. We only found out this information after returning to our home base. Nothing was said while on location. And this again goes back to, I've been saying this since we got there. Stay out of the water, stay out of the silt. It's making people sick. Here's the 19,000th witness to that. Intel at bearindependent.com. Intel at bearindependent.com. Next, I just wanted to pass along our experience with the most recent supply run to the Western North Carolina area from Central Virginia. And there's an important talking point in this as well. We have delivered previous loads to the area without issue, but this one was a much different experience. With cold weather coming in and the need for winter clothing being pushed out by every media source around, we did a coat drive. We filled a 5x10 trailer, 4 foot high, with donated blankets, sleeping bags, heavy coats, and coveralls. Our first contact was a Baptist church in Bakersville, North Carolina. They turned us away and said they didn't have room for our donations. Next, we went to the middle school that was being ran, or at least partnered with the National Guard, and they turned us away. Then we headed to the Avery County Airport because I heard on the Mount Mitchell repeater, very familiar with the Mount Mitchell repeater, that they were taking winter clothing. We stopped at every little drop-off location along the way, only to be turned away. Once we got to the airport, they said they weren't taking any soft goods at this time due to being out of storage. Now remember, Avery County Airport was a location in question that the locals at the Upper Pigeon Roost Free Will Baptist Church said was denying delivery of supplies to their area. We have that on camera, previous video posted here on this channel. But then we sent operatives into Avery County Airport to see if they could pull resources out. And so our observation of Avery County Airport was not that they were hoarding things, but that they weren't delivering things anymore, i.e., if you could get to it, you could have it, but they weren't doing strike teams out into the community. So this is where one of the places that this person tried to deliver to. Continuing, we stopped at every little drop-off location along the way, only to be turned away. Once we got to the airport, they said they aren't taking any soft goods at this time due to being out of storage. They directed us to a Best Western in Banner Elk, North Carolina. Been there as well. And they said they would take the whole load. We checked little churches and fire station drop-offs along the way, only to be turned away. We got to the Best Western, and they told us that if the donations were new, they would take them, and if not, they would throw them into the dumpster. Why? Why are people doing that? Now, we all here, I'm assuming the vast majority of us work for a living, and a good used coat, I take it in a heartbeat, that fast. The reason in a word, is smallpox blankets. That's why people, large organizations, including governments, are afraid of taking gently used clothing because smallpox blankets, because they don't know what has happened to it before. If a sick person blew their nose on it, if it's got bodily fluids on it, that's why they won't take it. It's very demoralizing. It's very challenging. And it's one of those things that Grindstone has tried to do a good job of. Yeah, use your best judgment and conviction of the spirit. If we need it, we're going to take it. If it's in good condition, we're going to take it. Now, don't confuse that with me saying we're soliciting for cold weather items and gently used clothing right now, because we are not. But I'm saying in the past, on this deployment and others, when stuff like that would show up as led by the spirit, we would take it. But most, air quote, professional organizations will not, because smallpox blankets. We then went to the Elk River Airport, only to be told the same thing. Now, I know the people running that airport, and yeah, I understand why they told you that. If the gear was brand new, they would take it, but if it was used at all, they didn't want it. At this point, we were on our 13th location, and not one person had even looked at what we were trying to donate. We started reaching out to Goodwill locations that would take the donation, and found a large location in Boone, flipping pages, that agreed to take the whole load. On attempt 15, we were able to unload our donations. Praise Yahweh, the Lord our God, that these drop-off locations are full. But I'm not sure the people in need are getting what they need. And what we set out to do with the best of intentions ended up being a 19-hour sightseeing mission. Now, let's talk about that a little bit. Every disaster hits an inflection point where you go from relief to recovery. Relief is short-term sustainment of life. Food, water, medical. It begins with search and rescue. All right, we have to map out what's happening here, identify casualties, treat casualties, and/or tag bodies, identify and assess structures at the same time. Starts with search and rescue immediately after the storm, immediately after the stimulus. It's search and rescue. Also, what's happening while you're doing that is you're mapping access and egress routes. How do I get in and out of here? Right. So search and rescue, it develops a lot of intelligence for planning follow-on operations. And then it's food, water, extracts, doing an extraction, pulling people out, med calls. And then at some point, and debris typically, although not on this storm, but debris typically, homes that have been condemned that the homeowner, not the state or the local government or the federal government, but the homeowner wants demolished. Grindstone will hit that. Vegetative debris, stuff that used to be trees, hauling all of that off. Then it's debris. And then the needs of the populace will change to usually power generation and thermoregulation. Big words. What does that mean? Generators, small solar arrays, and in the summer, if it's hot, it'll be ice and fans and portable AC units. And in the winter or fall, when it's about to get cold, because there's 2 storm seasons, spring and fall. I don't know. I didn't set up the world. I'm not in charge of that stuff. That's just typically when disasters happen, spring and fall. So in the spring going into summer, people need cooling. And then in the fall going into winter, they need heating, sleeping bags, wool blankets, buddy heaters, propane tanks, kerosene heaters, kerosene, generators, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, fuel, firewood. That inflection point, when you start to see that is when you are beginning to turn the corner from relief, which is short-term preservation of life, and recovery, which is rebuilding. Now, Grindstone is a relief organization. We're typically the first boots on the ground as far as 501c3s are concerned. Oftentimes, we're there so quickly after the storm that we are participating in the search and rescue efforts. This can be, depending on how far from home, as little as 2 hours from when the storm hit, Grindstone's on site. We're not a recovery organization. We're not a long-term rebuilding organization. And the reason I bring this up is every disaster hits this inflection point where every distribution site is full. Now, that's an indicator when every distro site is full that we're going from relief to recovery, from short term to long term. Now, in Appalachia, one of the reasons this is an unprecedented storm is because of the topography and the geography, and that in many cases, we're dealing with people who were intentionally isolated to begin with. When the infrastructure is gone, when the bridges and the roads wash out and there's trees down, although most of the trees have been handled at this point, as they should be. I mean, we're 3 weeks out from the initial storm. When the infrastructure is gone and people's vehicles are gone or flooded or they're out of fuel or they were going to get a new alternator on Tuesday and the storm hit on Monday for whatever reason they can't get out. The issue then becomes all the resources are at the distro site, but there's still people up in them hills who can't get to it. That's where strike teams come in. And so if there's anybody doing distro right now, other than my guys and girls with Grindstone, because they already know this, if there's anybody running a distro site right now, you have to do strike teams as well. You have to get a couple of pickup trucks, four-wheel drive trucks, side-by-sides, box trucks, whatever you can, helicopters if need be, and bring the stuff to the people. Because it's a logical fallacy to think that the people who lost everything are going to be able to get to you. They lost everything. They have no transportation. They have no mobility, and the infrastructure is out. So you have to bring it to them. Okay. And even with that being said, once distro sites start filling up to where they're turning away donations, that is a clear sign. And we've done this 46 times in 5.5 years. It's a clear sign that we're turning the corner from relief, short term, to recovery, long term. And with that, I'm happy to tell you to please reach out to support, follow, subscribe, whatever, however the Spirit convicts, Appalachia Service Project. They are committing to rebuild 200 homes in the area. They've already fundraised for 25. Grindstone is not officially partnered with them. I don't care about the labels. They're good people doing the right things on the recovery side, and we will be supporting them from the relief side into the recovery side. Appalachia Service Project. That's the long-term rebuilding. And they have the resources and the crews over the next year to rebuild 200 homes. Grindstone doesn't. We're not funded like that. We don't have the staff like that. We don't have the staying power like that. I don't have the area familiarity. It's not what we do. But we always look for somebody to do a handover to from relief to recovery. And in this case, Appalachia Service Project is at the top of the list. Those guys and girls are killing it. So, yeah, Appalachia Service Project. Point is, I'm sorry you burned 19 hours trying to donate supplies. But that's a clear indicator that we are turning the corner from relief to recovery. Next. Item number 1, 6 October. Unusual civilian-looking aircraft with inboard engine and perpendicular nose fin. Shaped like a Shahed drone, but was slightly larger than a Q4 drone. Very quiet with jet propulsion sound near a small regional airport. Sukkot Day 1, at least 3 Osprey aircraft headed northeast across northeastern Iowa. Visual and audible observation. ADS-B flight radar shows 2 of the 3 observed Ospreys' destination is Green Bay, Wisconsin. Lived here for 20 years and have never seen these 2 aircraft. Ospreys in the Midwest is out of character. Agree. The only normal... sorry, got to lick the fingers and turn the page. Who's got that song stuck in their head now? You're weird, like I'm weird. The only normal logic would be training space in the Great Lakes. That would indicate that the ocean is full or they are deploying eastward. Item number 2, source, 2 family member accounts of meeting actual. At John Deere internal fiscal year end meeting, it was announced that more layoffs in the ag sector, specifically harvester works, are taking place in January, and that the projected sales for 2025 are at a 50-year low, i.e., 1975. Homework. Google severe recession and unemployment, 1975 economic report. 1975 economic report. Severe recession and unemployment. And we're going to talk about Orange Man in a minute. Trust me. Next. As I watched your 15 October brief, I looked up the flood zones and noticed something very interesting. 2 years ago, my wife and I took the trailer to Asheville for a long weekend, which sits right in the middle of the damage path. We visited the Biltmore, the Gilded Age mansion built by the Vanderbilts. We were by no means security professionals. However, the superfluous amount of tech and security at the Biltmore was obvious. The shuttle from the parking lot upon arrival to the front of the mansion had to stop so that facial recognition of the bus driver could activate the massive steel posts that recessed into the ground. Those are called bollards that allowed the bus to pass. These posts covered the entire front and by their size would stop any vehicle advancing. That's a V-bed, counter V-bed device. So you can't drive a vehicle laden with explosives into the building. Yeah. Or you just want to stop traffic for any other reason. Next, we went through a security checkpoint with more facial recognition and scanners that were able to pick up that my wife had a compact umbrella in her leather purse as she walked with it and asked to look in her bag. The third checkpoint on the way to dinner had another inordinate amount of tech and reinforcement at the guard station. Now, there is expensive things and art at the Biltmore. However, it is a fraction of the family's fortune displayed more for effect. During the tour, it was explained that in the music room, a large amount of national treasures and art were stored there during World War II to protect them against potential attacks on the East Coast. There was a large amount of collaboration between the Vanderbilts and the government during World War II, which would explain a further relationship that could make the mansion and land surrounding some sort of strategic supply or operations base, sort of like the Greenbrier in West Virginia. Sidebar, I've never been in the Biltmore, but I've been in the Greenbrier. And yeah, 100%. The tech, security, and correlation with government dealings previously stuck out to us since this trip, and our takeaway was, what do they have here? In our humble assessment, the Biltmore could be a strategic supply bunker storage area for something much bigger, and some of your oddities could explain some of the presence. Anyway, that's my intel, and I thought it was relevant. Anyway, intel@bearindependent.com is the email address you use to send me things that you have seen with your eyes or heard with your ears, not breathlessly. Bear, you got to watch a video. You have to read this article. Oh my gosh, did you see that Israel launched 200 missiles to Iran? We're all going to die. I know, I'm aware. I also have the internet. I am very aware of the things on the internet, whether I want to be or not. I want the reporting that you have seen with your own eyes or heard with your own ears. Intel@bearindependent.com. If you can't spell Bear Independent, you're not allowed to send intel because intel is short for intelligence. Okay? Okay. Sounds good, Bear. Let's talk to the people in the chat real quick. I got a little economic update here. You guys want to do the economic update? You want to do Trump polling? You want to talk about Iran next? What do you guys want to do next? What do you think? I'm looking at the chat. Sorry for this. Is that a boogie left nostril? No, it's you talking right there? That's actually a glare. This one right there? No boogies. Magic Prepper, what's up, bro? Trump, all the above, Iran, economy, all the things, all three. Bear does karaoke. Not very well, AJ Harrison. Economics, all the above. Team Starfish, Team Creamy. How dare you? I will drag you through the mud, sir or ma'am. RefugeRuckus.com. So many people have been hearing all about Grindstone lately. If you're new, you may not have heard about Caleb House. Listen, when we're not punching hurricanes and tornadoes in the face, we're actively targeting pedophiles and rescuing children. Caleb with the K, calebhouse.org. We have the Refuge Ruckus coming up in the spring, and we're all going to get together. It's a 3-day event. We're going to ruck through downtown Fort Smith, Arkansas, while waving our middle fingers at pedophiles and raising money so we can go make more bad stuff happen to bad people and rescue more kids. If you're into that and you want to get destroyed in a tug of war prior to the ruck by me, who is captain of Team Crunchy. Yes, it's all about peanut butter. Yeah, and you're on Team Creamy. Come see us. And listen, I won't lose. I'm terrible at losing. You may have noticed this. I'm terrible at losing. It's just not something that I enjoy doing. But if by some fluke Team Creamy happens to win, I'll wear my mud. I'll take it. I will take my medicine. But I do want you to know you still have time to reconsider your heathen ways of creamy peanut butter and come towards the light, my brother or sister. Get yourself a jar of extra crunchy peanut butter. Get a good facial workout while you're eating it. Yeah. Not only do you eat the best peanut butter, but you burn calories at the same time. And you'll be on the winning team of the Team Creamy versus Team Crunchy tug of war at the Refuge Ruckus 2025. Details are at refugeruckus.com. All right. Well, since everybody here has as much ADD as I do and nobody can decide, we'll just do the things we're going to talk about in the order I was going to talk about them, which would be economic update, then Trump polling, then Israel versus Iran. Okay. Okay, Bear. All right. Sounds good, guys. No problem, Bear. All right, cool. Here we go. Bear Independent Brief, 26 October 24. Economic. The impacts of the two recent hurricanes, Helene and Milton, will show up in the coming economic reports covering the data for October, making it more difficult to get an accurate pulse on the American economy. Before the hurricanes, U.S. economic data was showing a relaxing of unemployment rates, but now it's expected that the unemployment numbers will see a bump simply because of the hurricanes. This muddying of the data comes as Federal Reserve officials are counting on the monthly data to help make decisions about rate cuts. Yes, it's all about that soft landing that they've been aiming for so long. Chicago Fed President Austin Goolsbee, what a ridiculous... sorry, I'm trying to be professional, but I'm also me. I'm convinced that all these people are actors and that everybody, when they make a blood oath with Satan before they're allowed to be part of the government or the mass media, everybody gets a new fake name. And probably a third of them are reptiles, a third of them are robots, and then a third of them are just human cucks who just want to take it from the system. And most of them are wearing silicone masks anyway. Because who in their right mind names their kid Austin Goolsbee? That shit is retarded. But I digress. Anyway, this particular Pleiadian, the Chicago Fed president, Austin Goolsbee, said last month, quote, he probably said it, beep, boop, beep style, but I speak English, kind of, so we'll read it in English. If we want a soft landing, we can't be behind the curb, whatever. Of course, getting the timing right at moments of transition, oh, there's that word, I love transition, is maybe the hardest challenge a central bank faces, other than, printing $36 trillion so that you and I can all be peasants to the system. Other than that, their primary challenge they have is figuring out numbers with an abacus in a cave somewhere. Let's see. Quote, continuing the quote, it's especially hard at a moment like this where the conditions are so different from previous cycles. But knowing that labor markets, Austin Goolsbee voice, but knowing that labor markets tend to deteriorate quickly when they turn and that monetary policy takes time to act, it's not realistic to wait until the problems show up. End quote. Overall, though, there is good news. Among the advanced economies, the United States has been placed at the center for the International Monetary Fund's global growth outlook. In other words, we're still the biggest kid on the playground. The IMF expects next year's real gross domestic product to grow by 2.2%. Previously, it had predicted 1.9% growth for 2025. Guys, we're up 0.3 of a percentage point. Yes, huge rally. Huge. Build the wall, build it. Tremendous. Beautiful dogs. Oh my gosh. This guy's name. What do you think? Reptile or robot? I feel like this is a name AI would come up with, so I'm leaning towards robot. Pierre-Olivier Gorinchas. Pierre-Olivier Gorinchas, I think is how you pronounce his name. Research director at the IMF said, quote, the decline in inflation without a global recession is a major achievement. Much of that disinflation can be attributed to the unwinding of the unique combination of supply and demand shocks that caused the inflation in the first place, together with improvements in labor supply due to immigration. End quote. Also in the good news category, the last meeting of the Federal Reserve's Interest Rate Setting Committee revealed a notable confidence from central bankers at the end of the meeting minutes. Also, a statement from Josh Hurt, a senior U.S. economist for Vanguard. Oh, ever heard of them? Vanguard, a little group called Vanguard, read, quote, "The Federal Reserve appears to remain comfortable with where inflation is and trending." They're good with it. They don't care if you can't afford groceries, if gas is $19 per liter, if, by 2035, you can't buy an internal combustion engine anymore. It now takes $4.48 million to just be born, live, and then die per person in the United States of America. That's all. 4.48, just a cool 4.5 mil to simply exist in the current American economy. They don't care about that. They don't care about the redistribution of wealth during the COVID era, where trillions of dollars were taken from the middle class and then centralized at the upper echelons of society. They don't care at all. The central bank is good with it, said this robot Pierre Olivier Gorienjas. No, I'm sorry. The guy from Vanguard said it, Josh Hurt. The Federal Reserve appears to remain comfortable with where inflation is and trending. Although inflation remains elevated, we do not see a material effect on the Fed's trajectory of rate cuts. In other words, continue to simp, peasants. We will be particularly focused on the still elevated levels of services inflation. Oh, okay. Services inflation. There is one small warning hanging in the air, though. On Tuesday, the IMF did say that although it appears that the global economy is set for a soft 2025 landing, there is a, quote, high, unquote, level of uncertainty around the world being generated by political elections. Side note, in 2024, about half of the globe is undergoing elections. That's all. Just half. Just half of the world is currently undergoing elections. It's going to be fine, everybody. You got any food in buckets? You got any homies to hang out with? You buy any rifled slugs for your 12 gauge lately? You got a radio, you know how to use it. You got a decent first aid kit. You got some water put back. You got a bug out plan and a way to use it. Like, it's not just something that you wrote up on a paper napkin one time, but like you've actually drilled it. Casey Keller, we're saved. Yes, half of the world is having elections right now. It'd be fine. It'd be fine. I'm sure BlackRock and Vanguard and the Illuminati and the Council on Foreign Relations and the Masons and the Knights Templar and Michael Jackson and P. Diddy and Jeffrey Epstein and the CIA, NSA, NRO, and every other alphabet agency, I'm sure they have no influence whatsoever on half of the globe being up for election. It's fine. And if it's not fine, we'll just spin up the Nexrad towers and direct an unprecedented storm over the top of your head. By the way, everybody pay attention to the weather around Texarkana in the coming days, weeks, months, because there's a large unprecedented volume of lithium under the ground in Texarkana. Another region that we need to pay attention to because there's lithium in Wyoming. Burn it down. How about a random forest fire directly over the top of the lithium? Oh, there's lithium in North Carolina. How about an unprecedented storm, an inland hurricane? Okay, cool. What's happening next at Texarkana? Keep it on your radar. And remember this conversation, 26 October 24, when Texarkana gets some kind of unprecedented weather there. And did you know, hypothetically, just speculating here, did you know the lithium mines that are in Wyoming, those ones there where everything's on fire, aka uninhabitable, the plan to get the lithium out of the ground is to pump the abandoned mines full of water, fill the subterranean mines full of water, and then extract the water out and run it through filtration in order to separate the lithium from the water. And did you know, in North Carolina, BlackRock owns the rights to two of the mines that are there that are now inexplicably just filled with water? And did you know that, hypothetically, during our intel operations in our S2 shop while forward deployed with Grindstone Ministries, we did some digging on who owns the land in some of these areas where people were, the citizenry was literally fighting to stay alive and also fighting with their local, state, and federal governments at the same time. Oh, just some random limited liability partnership, which always implies that lawyers are afoot, that happens to be owned by a guy that owns a company that has a large scale water filtration operation that contracts for the federal government. But that shit would be too weird to actually happen in real life. Don't worry, everybody. Just vote harder. The problem will go away. It'll be fine. It is totally fine. Have a moldy granola bar. Don't and a blanket, a smallpox blanket, and everything's gonna be fine. Don't ask any questions. Just go to the government funded school, get your government funded indoctrination, eat the government funded food, consume the government funded media, live in the government funded house, buying the government subsidized fuel for the government subsidized cars, so that one day you will die and you'll say, I lived a good life. It was tremendous. Instead of reaching down in between your legs, realizing, oh, I'm a man and I was fearfully and wonderfully created in the image of my creator, and he is a warrior, Exodus 15, verse 3, and he didn't accidentally make me. I was intentionally made for this time to be his hands and feet, and he does not suffer fools, and neither will I. And instead of just existing, I'm going to live. And if I'm going to die in the course of living, I would prefer to spend my life in a worthy cause instead of bending over and taking it from some fed boy for my entire existence and calling it a good life. Sorry, I get a little passionate sometimes. No, let's talk about the election, everybody. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. It's going to be awesome. Did you guys know that Trump was on Joe Rogan today? Super popular. It's tremendous. Believe it. Oh, shit. Where are we on the internet? Oh, look, whiskey. Okay, hold. So, kind of, Jesus turned water into moonshine, Trax Ripper. That's what they tell each other up in those Smoky Mountains, homie. I'm sure that's what he did. Sure, it definitely wasn't the waters of purification, which are in line with the book of Leviticus as prescribed to the high priesthood, foreshadowing the fact that he is the fulfillment of the high priesthood, as written in the book of Hebrews and then played out in the book of Revelation, as written by John the Baptist in exile in the Isle of Patmos in 90 AD. It was moonshine. You're right. I forgot. Making the rounds on the Ethernet these days, Fifth Circuit Court drops October surprise over Mississippi's election ballot rules. I'm not going to read this whole words. I'm not going to read this whole article to you because it's terrible. The bottom line up front is that there's a big hullabaloo being made about when mail-in ballots are to be counted, because currently many states count mail-in ballots up to 5 days after November 5th, which is Election Day. Well, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals told the Fifth Circuit, which is Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas, that no, you can only count the ballots that come in up to November 5th, because that's Election Day, not up to 5 days after Election Day, which I'm in support of. Now, the argument is, we got people that are Mississippi residents all around the world, and they have, mail-in ballots, and something could happen, and then those ballots wouldn't get counted. Instead of, hey, man, if you really want your vote to count, early voting is a thing that now, which of course begs the question, do the freaking votes even count? I don't know. Well, you know what? We're in this rabbit hole. Let's climb out together. I think you should vote, because I'm not entirely certain how much sway the Dominion voting machines actually have. Can they just manufacture an election, or can they only push the margin of error so far in either direction? I don't know. But I think and I've come to this conclusion on camera with you. I've shifted my own Overton window over the last year on this. I think we should vote, and you should vote however you want to vote. I don't care what wing of the two-party system. It's the same shitty bird. I don't care if you're a blue guy or a red guy. I don't care. I'm not entirely convinced that it matters, but I want the data that it doesn't matter. That's what I want. I would like to be able to definitively say, unprecedented 124 million people voted for insert candidate here, and that person didn't win. To then be able to definitively say, that's it. These voting machines are rigged. When they're not supposed to connect to the internet, although they do. And we're not supposed to count ballots until after, up until this point, and then shut down the polling station and capture on closed circuit television duffel bags filled with hundreds of thousands of ballots being literally trucked in and then recounted. And then water pipes breaking, and then having armed people standing outside of polling stations, disallowing people from exercising their constitutional rights. Instead of all of that, I'd like to just know definitively, system is screwed. Why? For follow-on effects. Okay, I know it's screwed now. Cool. I'm not playing along. And neither are any of my homies. Sir, your taxes are $70,000 this quarter. Nope, they're $750 because that's all you could find to send the people of Appalachia. So I will give you $750. And if that's good enough to rebuild a life in Appalachia, it's good enough for you to run this corrupt government with. By the way, you're trespassing. Get off my lawn. But I digress upon my digression. So the rumor here, the big story on the Fifth Circuit is that in the Fifth Circuit, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, they have to stop counting votes at midnight on the 5th. Now, what they're trying to say here is this is going to set a precedent all across the country. It's not, because the Fifth Circuit runs the Fifth Circuit. It doesn't run the First Circuit through the 12th Circuit. It runs the Fifth Circuit. So will there be a precedent in Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas? Yes. Yes, there will be. But it won't affect this election. So it's a nothing burger as far as I'm concerned with the reporting. Now, with that being said, there's a guy, you might have heard of him. His name is Donald J. Trump. And according to Project 538.com, they're the big pollsters. 538 is currently projecting Harris. As of today, 26 October 24, Harris is currently projected as the leader, 1.4 points ahead of Trump. Harris with 48% of the vote, Trump with 46.6% of the vote. So a 1.4 split here in favor of Harris, according to 538. Now, again, garbage data in, garbage data out. Who takes polls? Not me. I don't take polls. I don't know anybody else who's ever participated in a poll. And so if you have a bad data set, you're going to get a bad result. I also think the polls are bullshit anyway. Trump was talking about this on the Joe Rogan show earlier today. He goes, for $500,000, you can get whatever poll you want. I believe that. And so the poll numbers have to be believable. If you're one of the blue guys, it's got to be believable that you could win is the whole point. But here's the thing. I don't know. Now, my own negative feedback loop, I will admit that. But I don't know a single person, not one person, that's voting for Kamala. Now, I live in Oklahoma. There's only 4 million people that live in Oklahoma. 1.5 million live in Oklahoma City. 1 million live in Tulsa. And the other 1.5 is spread throughout the entire state. Very low population density. I like it that way. Where I live, they have to truck the sunshine in here once a week and unload it in the front yard so that we can see during the day. I'm into it. Okay. So maybe, garbage in, garbage out. But I know people all over the country, from California to New York and everywhere in between. And I don't know a single person voting for Kamala. Not one person. Which brings me to, so 538 says Harris wins currently by 1.4%. Except for in Vegas, oddstrader.com. The current bets for Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. Implied win probability for Donald Trump, 65.28%. Implied win probability for Kamala Harris, 40%. Trump is up 188 to 1 in Vegas. Current odds, 188 to 1. At that rate, hell, I'm going to put $1,000 on Kamala just cause. If I can take 1,000 doll hairs, now fake money, not this money, not this. I'm talking about, the Illuminati money, with the pyramid on it, with the 13 steps and the all-seeing eye and a little owl over there in the corner. And if you fold it up just right, it looks like Baphomet. I'm talking that bullshit money. If I could take $1,000 of bullshit money and bet on Kamala and potentially turn that into $188,000, I'm in. I'm super in. So I'm just saying, like, maybe that's a funding opportunity for, all of our different ministries. Or what, you want a yacht? Cool. Put 5K on Kamala. Like, oh, they stole the election and we can all complain about it from the back of your yacht. It sounds great. I'm in. I'm in. Or $5,000 and Trump wins and we get an economy back where losing $5,000 isn't the end of the world. I'm sorry, my bias is showing. So anyway, currently per Vegas, Trump's odds of winning 65.28%, Kamala Harris's odds of winning 40% current. Now that we've dealt with the polling, SBA Black Woman Grant, 100% Striker Cade. Tell me I'm not an African-American female. That's what I want from the Small Business Administration. Either give me $40 million for some ridiculous business plan that I put 4 minutes, I drew on a piece of paper with a crayon. Here's my business plan. Oh, you're pre-approved. Either, since I identify as a pregnant lesbian African-American woman, I get $40 million, or I have the federal government on record saying, no, sir, you are not a pregnant lesbian African-American female. Either is a win. I'll take either of those things. I'm good with it. And I think every other single person within the sound of my voice should do that. You should just walk in there and be like, I'm a freaking whatever. I like to poop in a litter box and groom toads on Sunday mornings, and I need $12 million to build my shop. What are they going to say? No. If they say no, you have a legal document from the United States of America that says you are not that. Good. That sets a precedent. If they say yes, you have $12 million. You run a little shop downtown. It's maybe $6,000 a year in rent. You put a toad out front. You make sure he's got water in his glass and some crickets to eat. Every Sunday morning, you go in there, you give him a little tickle, and you go about your business, and you got $12 million out of the deal. I'm just saying, like, at some point, make the system work for you. The system's terrible. Burn it down. Yes, but while it's burning, if we can extrapolate some capital for us out of the system, I'm in. I'm on board. Let's do it. But hey, you can sure pass as one somehow. How dare they assume your gender? Right? Just because I'm a 6 foot tall, burly, bearded, fully actualized male doesn't mean I'm not a 5'3", half Filipino, Asian, pregnant, African-American female entrepreneur. Right? Both in Joe Biden's 2024, I can be both of these things at the same time, simply because I feel like it. And speaking of because I feel like it, Israel has struck Iran's missile production, says sources coming from sources say. Cool, coming from Axios.com. Israel's retaliatory strike. And listen, everybody freak out. Freak out. I'm going to need you right now. Stop what you're doing. Go buy the best hazmat suit you can get, the best respirator you can get, a pallet, not one, not two, a pallet of potassium iodide. Get a shovel, start digging in the front yard till the track hoe gets there so you can put in your disaster shelter, nuclear fallout thing. Should you have all those things? Yeah, probably, because the world's unpredictable. But should your blood pressure be up right now? No. And also, if you needed more proof that the nation state of Israel isn't the biblical Israel, they launched missiles preemptively in an offensive attack on the day of rest. So you should identify as a bear and just growl. I did that one time when somebody wouldn't refund a bus ticket for me, different part of my life. And the bus ticket money was really, I needed it. And the guy was like, I'm sorry, sir, we can't refund your ticket. And I was a different person then too. And I said, look, this is going to go one of two ways. You're going to open that cash drawer and hand me $186 in US currency, or I'm going to pick this computer up and beat you to death with it. And the guy said, hold on, sir, let me get my manager. And the manager came over and he said, what did you say? I said, you're going to give me $186 in US currency, or I'm now going to beat the both of you to death with this computer. Didn't say another word. He hit the keyboard. The cash register came open. He counted it out, handed it to me. I said, thanks. Have a great day. And I walked out. That's how I deal with corporatism. Speaking of which, military-industrial complex, the destruction of Iran's ballistic missile program and their equipment to produce missiles severely damages Iran's ability to renew its missile stockpile and could deter Iran from further massive missile strikes against Israel, according to sources. The sources said that Israel hit 12 planetary mixers used to produce solid fuel for long-range ballistic missiles, which make up the bulk of Iran's missile arsenal. A senior U.S. official confirmed that the strike cripples Iran's massive production capability. Israel's sources said the mixers are highly sophisticated equipment that Iran cannot produce on its own and must be purchased from China. How interesting. How interesting. Why is Israel attacking Iran? Just before we get all down in the details. In fact, that's all the details I'm going to give you as far as the generalized reporting from Axios is concerned. Why is Israel attacking Iran? Well, Iran gets their missile building stuff from where? China. 1/7 of Iran's GDP comes from Russia. Iran produces all kinds of arms and armament that then finds its way into the hands of Russia, which is then deployed on the battlefield of Ukraine. Iran also trains and funds the Houthis, who are down there in Yemen, launching missiles at trade ships and shutting down the, not the ports, but the passageways for ships there. The Houthis, Hezbollah, up in Lebanon, north of Israel, terrorist attacks, and Hamas. Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthi and the Blowfish, Howard Hughes, everybody else. Iran funds all of them, trains all of them. So Israel attacking Iran is asymmetric warfare between the United States and Russia. Ukraine, supported by China. Ukraine is asymmetric warfare between Russia and the United States. These are proxy wars. So why is Israel hitting Iran? Well, for the same reason Iran's attacking Israel, because it's not currently deemed appropriate on the world stage for the United States to hit Russia. That's why. And every dollar, every minute of time that the United States spends concerned about Israel is $1, 1 minute of time that they're not spending concerned about what's happening in Ukraine. And so by opening up a second front to the south of Ukraine, aka in Israel, between Israel and all of its enemies that surround it, Russia accomplishes what they want as far as distracting the United States and causing the United States to fight a two-front war now in Ukraine and Israel rather than just in Ukraine. And where does Iran get the stuff to build all the arms and armaments that they send to Iran and that they shoot into, or that they send to Russia and shoot into Israel? They get it from China. China is part of BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South America, Saudi Arabia, et al., who just had their first little international get-together where they tried and failed to come up with an international currency to combat the US dollar. More asymmetric warfare. So that's why Israel is shooting targets in Iran, because Iran's been shooting targets in Israel, and it really, other than the fact that they don't like each other, and they haven't for the last 4,000 years, it really has nothing to do with anything other than Russia and the United States are in World War III. It just hasn't gone full-blown third generation conventional warfare yet. We're stuck in 5th gen, 6th gen asymmetric unconventional warfare currently. So, should I get a gas mask? Probably. Do I need to put it on? Guys, if I ever come on here without a beard, there's one reason why I wouldn't have a beard. It's because we're probably going to need gas masks in the near future. So if you ever see me without a beard, that means it's time for you to put the gas mask on. Other than that, we're good. Okay? Okay. Awesome. That's the show for today. Grindstone Ministries. You guys know about Grindstone. If you want to serve with Grindstone, you need to email serve@grindstoneministries.com. I know it's very challenging. What was the email again? Serve, SERVE, @grindstoneministries.com. We have ongoing operations in Eastern Tennessee, Western North Carolina through the 31st of this month. And then we're doing that handoff to the ASP, Appalachia Service Project, which I highly recommend you check out and support because those are good people doing good things on the recovery side. Okay. Yes, Night Trader. One, Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, has come under scrutiny for his financial ties to investment giants BlackRock and Vanguard, raising concerns over potential conflicts of interest. Oh, and what is it? Her brother is only like somewhere between 200 million and $2 billion of wealth. He has essentially robbed through SBA loans to the African American community. Very stand up people. These people, they're great. GrindstoneMinistries.com. A lot of y'all have been seeing lately what Grindstone does. We are a privately funded paramilitary style disaster relief organization. And it's amazing because the Father just shows up and shows off whenever Grindstone goes and does what we do. And if you want to be a part of that on the remainder of this deployment or on the next one, sign up for the email blast at grindstoneministries.com. And if the Spirit convicts you, consider recurring donations, monthly donations, because that's how we keep the ball rolling, maintain readiness for whatever the next one is going to look like. Sound good? Sounds good, Bear. Caleb House, Caleb with the K.org. We make bad shit happen to bad people and rescue children. And man, we are covered up doing that. We are running multiple operations simultaneously. And we can only do that because of the support of the Bear Nation. And so there's a lot of people out there that talk about raped kids bad. Yeah, no shit. What are you doing about it? Did you just see what's the largest? You guys remember what's the largest anti-human trafficking organization in the world? What is it? You guys remember? From Rolling Stone. Now, this is just me reading the news. Anti-trafficking activist Tim Ballard hit with human trafficking allegations in federal lawsuit. And you know what? They have his DNA. They are backing these allegations with DNA. Some people talk about it, some people be about it. Bear, what email for Grandpa Charlie? Grandpa Charlie's been dead for 26 years. Thanks for bringing it up. Email doesn't work for him anymore. You'll see him in the kingdom and you can ask him in person. Has Caleb House separated from OUR? We've never been associated with OUR. I reached out to them for their building specifications on a restoration facility. And what they sent me was the Attorney General's specification via the Department of Homeland Security for their restoration facilities. We've never received a dime from OUR. We've never run ops with OUR. We don't talk with them. We don't hang out with them. I met their fundraising guy in Vegas at SHOT Show, and he's no longer with them because the rumor is he wasn't so good at stewarding the money that was coming in. Unconfirmed. I don't know that. That's the rumor. So, yeah. You could support an organization that made a cool movie that pissed people off for like 4 minutes, or you could support an organization that's actually doing the things. And we not only do rescue, we also do restoration, aka instead of the children becoming property of the state, which is part of the problem in the first place, we restore them at our own private restoration facilities. And we build up their mental, physical, educational, spiritual, financial needs. And we have no timeline on our program. It's like not like, hey, little Johnny, you got a year to get your poop in a group and then kick them out. It's forever, for as long as it's needed, because we have children ages 1 to 19 in our care currently, dozens of them. And I'm not going to tell a 1-year-old they got a year to figure it out and then kick them out again. And so if that sounds like something you'd like to be a part of, Caleb with a K, calebhouse.org. So, yeah. Pet Prep Radio Show. Thank you for doing that, Bear. Hey, thank you to the teams at Grindstone and Caleb House. The teams, the people in the field getting it done, the people in the field building the things, making this happen. They're the people who deserve a thank you. I'm just a guy from Oklahoma with a YouTube channel and a few businesses and a mostly watered down glass of whiskey at this point. The people in the field getting it done, those are the people who deserve the kudos. And you know what? Every one of them is amazing and would blush if you told them thank you and would feel really, really awkward because they're not doing it for the thank you. They're not, I can tell you they're not doing it for the money because we pay them peanuts because peanuts is all we've got. They're doing it because they have a conviction from the creator of the universe to be a light. That's why they do it. So thank you to the teams. Y'all are amazing. Last and least of everything we've talked about, refugemedical.com. I'm the founder and CEO of refugemedical.com. We make the best first aid kits on planet Earth, undeniably. Man, we've seen just in Tennessee how unprepared people are from a medical standpoint. If that's you, if you're unprepared and you'd like to get more prepared just for everyday life, come see us, refugemedical.com. A good first aid kit is one of those preps that you can and probably will statistically will use before the world ends, man. You need one, and you need a real one, not some garbage that you bought from China off the internet, but a real first aid kit. There's 137 people still alive because of Refuge Medical first aid kits. I don't know, R. Heath. I said I've never been to the Vanderbilt Biltmore Estates. Oh, in Asheville. I don't know. I've never been there. I've been to the Greenbrier in West Virginia. The fat electrician is selling your stuff. I know that because there's a fat fac on the shelf at Refuge Medical. And when people buy from him, we fulfill it. And we're very happy with that relationship. The fat electrician sells our stuff. People who do things that never happen in places that don't exist without any names depend on our stuff all the time. Some of our lives saved are redacted. We can't give any of the details. Military, law enforcement, EMS, fire, prepared civilians everywhere carry our kits. We're on 4 continents. Wrangler Star runs our stuff, and John at SOE Tactical recommends our stuff, even though he makes ballistic nylon. And Born Primitive, a bunch of former operators, they run our stuff, and we've done collaborations with Origin out of Maine, Jocko Willink and Pete. We're like a real company. I really am an entrepreneur. And if you really want a good first aid kit, come see us, Refuge Medical. There's 2 that I'll recommend to you real quick. This is the Bear Fac. This one's mine. The Bear Fac, Bear First Aid Kit. And real quick, so you got this nylon pouch on the outside for your portability and your durability. It's Molly Pal's wedding compatible. As you can see, made in America. We make all of our stuff in America right here in Oklahoma. We guarantee it forever. If you break it, I'll replace it at no cost to you. And if you use the contents to save a life, I'll replace whatever you use at no cost to you. You pop this lid open, you grab this tab right here, pull, grab this red handle, pull, grab this red tab, pop. There's your first aid kit. Set out priority of care per the March algorithm. Everything I need squared away, mise en place, a place for everything and everything in its place. Everything I need, nothing I don't, laid out in priority of care. This is bleeding control. I need this first. Next is airway and respiratory. It's a pocket back here. This is my airway and respiratory module right here in the back. Good to go. Then is head injury, circulation, hypothermia, everything else. And that's all down here. Designed that way specifically so that I'm not wasting time while somebody is dying in front of me. Okay. That's the Bear Fac. And then if you're not, let's say you don't need a Bear Fac, or budget is tight right now, or maybe the holidays are coming and you're looking for a $60 gift for a bunch of people. This is the bleeding prevention kit. This is a vacuum sealed kit. Okay. It's all got the best components on planet Earth. This is the advanced, but the basic starts, I think, at $63. All right. And this has tons of stuff in it. Cat Gen 7 tourniquet, emergency trauma dressing, compressed gauze, gloves, real trauma shears, survival blanket, permanent marker, instruction card, flat duct tape, halo chest seals, combat Z-fold, hemostatic gauze, nasopharyngeal airway, et cetera, et cetera. And this starts at $63. And if you want a nylon pouch made in America to put it in every cool guy color under the sun, red, black, gray, multicam black, ranger green, coyote tan, multicam. I don't even know what other freaking colors we have. You can add one of these to one of these for $39. You got a $100 blowout kit that's just made in America, guaranteed forever, and filled with the best components on planet Earth. So check that out. All that's at refugemedical.com. And if you use promo code BearNation, you get free shipping. And I'm telling you guys and girls that because I love you. And I've just spent a whole bunch of days in Eastern Tennessee and Western North Carolina dealing with sick and injured people in large part. I mean, we had to speedball a field hospital to North Carolina because the hospitals were underwater, under mud. And I'm not gonna tell you about in depth. Maybe next time if you guys and girls want to know. But the supply chain on this stuff is getting bad. Like IV fluids, Baxter got smashed by Helene and Milton. So IV fluids are like impossible to get right now. Baxter manufactures more than just IV fluids. Two of the world's largest trauma medicine component manufacturers were both severely impacted by Hurricane Helene. Severely impacted. I've got guys in units that should have shelves and shelves and shelves of this stuff reaching out to me going, can you, like, do you have any of this? Anything you have, can I get it, please? I'm like, let me see what I can do. So the supply chain on this stuff is really screwy too. And then lastly, Striker Kate said, get training. 100%. If I said the word nasopharyngeal airway and you don't know what that is, there's two ways to solve that problem. You can go this channel, Bear Independent, and watch the trauma medicine playlist, where it's basically our basic level 4-hour block of instruction broken down into bite-sized pieces. You can go watch all of that for free. Train with your own kid at home. Watch all of it for free. And then share that out to the people that you love so you have some understanding on how to do this. Better than that, go to refugemedical.com, click the training tab, and find a class that you can make it to and come see us. And we will teach you in person. We've trained, I think, close to 5,000 people now in the last 3 years. And several of the people that we've trained have gone on to save people's lives in real life. So this is what we do when I'm not punching tornadoes and hurricanes in the face and or rescuing children. And I appreciate every one of you deeply for supporting us in our endeavors and allowing us to live up to the expectation that the Father has, the reason that he made us in the first place, for the preservation of life. Because that's what we do. Everything I do is about the preservation of life. Every company, every ministry, everything we do is preservation of life. And I could not do it without this audience. There are bigger YouTube channels, and there are very arguably better YouTube channels, but there is not a better audience on planet Earth. And I thank you deeply, deeply for supporting us with what we do. However that may manifest itself. Refuge, Caleb House, Grindstone, Patreon, Bear Independent, whatever. Like whatever. Thank you. And to say nothing of the prayer, we can feel it when we're in the field. We know there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people praying for us, and we need it. And I thank you for that deeply, because it matters. And I'm telling you, there are people who didn't believe or barely believed who came to this deployment for Hurricane Helene and left with their mouth agape at how amazing the Father is, because you prayed and Yah moved. And that's priceless. You know, if you positively affect one person's walk, you've won in life. I can tell you there were hundreds on this deployment, just this deployment, there were hundreds of people who undeniably got to see the Father move because of your prayers. So thank you. Keep doing that. We need it. And with that being said, we will pray together as a body. Oh, good evening, Father Yahweh. Father, thank you for being amazing, undeniably amazing. Father, thank you for fearfully and wonderfully creating us in your image, for giving us a purpose before time existed, and for putting us into this life at this moment for the fulfillment of your will. Father, I pray that you would convict every one of us by your Spirit to move, to do the works that you've called us to be your hands and feet, to let our light so forth shine before men. Father, that we would fear nothing but you, that your will would be made manifest through our actions. And Father, in the doing of, no weapon formed against us would prosper, and that you'd bless us. And Father, more importantly, that we would take inventory of all the blessings that we have every day that we take for granted. The fact that we exist is your will made manifest. The fact that we're breathing right now is a blessing. So, Father, let us not be distracted by the noise of the world, by the physical things and the shiny objects and the news cycle and the stress and the job and the... But Father, let us remember you. Father, let us serve you as the only offering we could give you that means anything, to be who it is you made us to be in the first place. And Father, that at some point we would hear the words at the end of an age, well done, good and faithful servant. That we had done what you asked us to do. Father, thank you. Thank you for the covering of the blood of your Son. That we would inexplicably have a way to come home again, to be in your presence and be part of the family and to experience your provision and your protection and your blessing. That you would so relentlessly pursue us, that you would literally lay down your life for us so that we could come to know you better for the preservation of life. Father, thank you for miracles that are undeniable. Thank you for a faith that moves, that is not a stagnant thing that lives on a shelf to be taken down on occasion and casually inspected, but that is tangible and real and overwhelming. Thank you for being so good to us, even when, especially when we don't deserve it. Thank you for loving us. Father, I pray that everybody within the sound of my voice, that you would speak to them in ways that they can understand, in ways that are undeniable by the conviction of your Ruach HaKodesh, and that you would reveal to them what their purpose is, why you made them in your image, what they need to do to serve you to the best of their ability. And Father, that you would just make their giftings and their talents and delights prosper and bloom. And that you'd not pave the way for them, but that you would walk with them through the good and the bad, and the ugly, in the doing of your will. And Father, that they would perform in such a way it would bring light to the nations, it would heal the sick, release the captive, restore the breach in the wall, rebuild the roads, heal the land. And Father, in the doing of it, they themselves would be healed. Father, thank you. Thank you that you would choose such broken people to be your hands and feet, that in our weakness your strength would be made manifest. Thank you for all of the mighty things that you are doing through the hands of your servants. Father, I pray that you just bless everyone within the sound of my voice, and that you would continue to walk with us, that we would know you better. Father, please make your face to shine upon us today, that we might experience your peace, your shalom. Father, we love you. We praise you. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. Somebody said, do you have time to share a Yah story with us from Tennessee or North Carolina? There are infinity stories, but I will tell you two very quickly. Very quickly. What's up, 12C? Shalom, brother. The first is I was walking through the yard with one of my guys, and he said, hey, I just got a call from Amanda down at Fender's Farms. And they've got 100 displaced people, and they need everything, including a place to live. And just that morning, we had unloaded a semi. Guys, you guys are so amazing. We were unloading 2 to 8 semis a day and dozens of bumper pole and gooseneck trailers every day. And I said, well, we have tents and we have sleeping bags and we have all that stuff. And he said, they need mattresses. He goes, I've already checked. We have everything we need except mattresses. We need 100 mattresses, sleeping pads, cots, whatever we got. He's like, we don't have it. I was like, okay. All right, we'll get it. And we were walking around the back of a semi. There's a 24-foot box trailer pulling in. I think the guy said he was from Michigan. I said, hey, man, what do you got? And he goes, I got 104 mattresses. I said, don't unhook, don't unload, just go to Fender's Farm. Just go see him in at Fender's Farm. And he's like, okay. And he did. And it was instant. I wrote on a whiteboard up in the talk, we already have everything we need. If you can't find it, just ask Dad. And that's a life lesson, not a deployment lesson. We already have everything we need. If you can't find it, just ask Dad. And then Bob had a woman who came in to the yard, and she was in a rough condition, and she needed a generator desperately. Her neighborhood had been out of neighborhood, as much as you can have one in the hollers of Western North Carolina, had been without power for like 7 to 10 days. And there was a guy up there who was going to kill himself because he just had enough. And she desperately needed a generator to get the power back on to restore some morale for this guy. And we were out of generators. We'd gone through 22 generators that morning. And we didn't have one. And this woman starts crying. So Bob says, hey, we can just ask. She said, what do you mean? And he said, let me pray with you. And he said, hey, Father, your daughter here needs a generator desperately. Would you please just give us one so we can give it to her? In Yeshua's name, amen. And as they finished praying, a guy in a Tacoma pickup truck, I think from Florida, comes hauling ass into the yard, kind of like slides to a stop, talks to Bob, and he's like, I got a generator. I got here as soon as I could get here, but man, it's been like I left like 4 days ago, and I got a generator. And everybody just started crying. It was like, don't even unload it. Just take it over to this lady where she needs it. And that happened 1,000 times a day. I was trying to put together a roster of who we were going to need out at Camp Miller in Pensacola, North Carolina. I needed like 24, 25 people. And I had a sheet of paper with each position lined out, but I didn't have any names to fill the positions with. And I'm sitting there tapping my pen on the paper, talking to Dad. I'm like, hey, Father, I need to go do this. I don't have anything to go do this with. I need people. I need equipment. I need fuel. I need it. Please put it in my hand. I'm tapping my pen and I look up. And man, this big, I think it was an F-350 dually with a long gooseneck, 40-foot gooseneck, comes pulling into the yard. And it's got a new Kubota skid steer with a grapple on it and a new Kubota track hoe with a thumb. And this guy hops out and he goes, how you doing? I'm Uriah. And I'm like, hey, Uriah. He goes, I got 14 people with me. I said, cool. Do you like camping? And he goes, yeah, that's what we came here to do. I said, awesome. How long are you going to be here? He's like, I don't know, like 7 to 10 days. I said, awesome. Don't even unload. You're going to Camp Miller tonight. And he's like, cool. What's Camp Miller? And I was like, I'm not even sure. I just came back from there. And that happened over and over and over and over and over again. I know my God is real. It is impossible to convince me that he's not. And I'll leave you with this. The God, the only God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob cares about you so much. He decided to die for you. The Elohim of heaven and earth, the Creator, Abba Yahuwah, the Lord your God, who can give us a generator in an instant if we just ask, or 104 mattresses with a whisper, or 14 people and all the heavy equipment we need that fast, or 1,000 other things miraculously in the moment, as if it's nothing. Desperately loves you and saw fit to atone for your sins so that you might come home again. And so if you got into an argument with Dad and ran away from home, like I did, and spent a decade in apostasy, I implore you, subordinate your ego, cry out to Dad, and come home again, because he is waiting for you. And he loves you, and he always has. And I love y'all too. And I will leave you with that. Y'all have a wonderful, blessed evening. Shalom.